For 40 years, Queen Althea of Verilus stood beneath the sapphire suns without a smile. From the high balconies of her palace, she gazed across fields of crystal grass that sang softly when the wind passed through them. The people of Verilus revered her not only for her wisdom, nor even for her mastery of ancient psionic energies, but for her endurance. She ruled without faltering, without rest, and without joy. Verilus, radiant capital of the Thalary Dominion, was a planet of light and harmony. Floating cities drifted above crystallized oceans. Towers chimed with music tuned to stellar currents. Yet at the heart of it all, the Queen's palace remained silent. A monument to mourning. Her twin daughters, Princesses Lara and Kalim, had vanished during the Unity War. They were taken during the siege of Cinderville, abducted by an unknown faction amid fire and collapsing skies. No ransom ever came. No remains were found. No transmission, no proof, no ending. Just silence. Over the decades, many claimed to know their fate. Pirates spun lies. Prophets sold visions. Politicians offered closure shaped like convenience. All of them were wrong. All of them were gone. Hope should have died, but for Queen Althea, hope had merely hardened. Someday, she would whisper into the evening wind, her voice carrying across the palace spires, they will return. I have seen it in the stars. The royal court called it grief. Her advisors begged her to accept reality. They forgot who she was. Althea was Pionorn, gifted with threadsight, the rare ability to glimpse fate's tangled paths. Her visions were fractured and incomplete, but within them was always the same constant, a human presence, blurred but unyielding. Moving against the current of destiny, a human called Sol Merrick. Sol Merrick did not look like a hero. Half his body was cybernetic. Rebuilt after a mining collapse in the asteroid colonies of Row 7 crushed his spine and left arm. His armor was scarred and mismatched, patched together from old campaigns. His ship, the Wayfarer's Edge, looked more like a drifting scrapyard than a cruiser. But Sol possessed something rarer than polished-out obsession. He had grown up on stories of the Unity War, of worlds erased and species scattered. Yet what haunted him most were the echo zones. Quarantined regions where ships vanished, time fractured, and reality bent, like glass under flame. One such region was the Tethan Rift. It was the last known location of the twin princesses of Verilus. The galaxy had written them off decades ago. Sol hadn't. He had found a signal, faint, fragmented, almost nothing. A lullaby in an ancient dialect repeating every 11.3 hours on a forgotten frequency. Most analysts dismissed it as background noise. Sol recognized a voice that refused to stop calling. He believed it was them, and he was going to bring them home. The Wayfarer's Edge groaned as it pierced the outer veil of the Tethan Rift. Stars twisted into spirals. Distances folded in on themselves. His AI, Vika, struggled to maintain coherence. Overlapping timelines detected, she warned. Gravitational distortions approaching terminal collapse. Just a little further, Sol muttered, tightening his harness. Then he saw it. A temporal bubble suspended within the rift like an egg of light. Inside it bloomed a garden, impossibly green, impossibly alive. Trees arched under glowing fruit. Time chimes swayed without wind. At the center stood two figures. Not children, not quite women. They wore ancient Valyrian robes, their eyes glowing softly with contained power. They did not look surprised. We knew you would come, said Callan. We've been waiting, added Lare. Time had treated them differently. 40 years beyond the rift had been only 7 within it. The abductors, an extremist sect known as the Silent Path, had died long ago when their ship shattered against the rift's unstable edge. The rift had preserved the twins, encasing them in a shell of psionic energy amplified by royal blood. Alone they survived. Together, they learned to command the flow of time itself. Why didn't you call for help? Sol asked quietly. We did, Lure replied. Through dreams. Through frequencies. Through the lullaby our mother sang, Callan said. No one heard us. They looked at him. Except you. Sol swallowed. Then let's finish this. I'm taking you home. Leaving the rift was far more dangerous than entering it. The moment the twins stepped outside the temporal bubble, psionic turbulence surged. The bubble began to collapse. Sol rewired the Wayfarer's Edge mid-flight, dumping all core power into a makeshift temporal anchor. It would give them 1 minute. No more. The ship tore through ruptured dimensions. History screamed backward. Sol's cybernetics glitched, pain lancing through his skull. Light bent. Reality folded. Then silence. Stabilization. They had made it. When the Wayfarer's Edge descended over Varalis, panic rippled through the skies. Royal guards mobilized. Defense platforms armed. Then Queen Althea emerged onto the landing platform. She said nothing. The ramp lowered. Sol stepped out. Behind him, holding his hands, were her daughters. The queen ran. She broke 1,000 years of regal protocol. Her crown fell behind her as she crossed the platform. She embraced them with the force of a collapsing star, her cry of joy echoing across the city and into the heavens. "They're alive," she wept. "By the infinite light, they're alive." Sol stood silently. Callan leaned toward him and whispered, "You gave her back her heart." The return of the princesses reshaped the Dominion overnight. Peace accords were signed. The remnants of the Silent Path were hunted down and erased. The Tefn Rift was sealed, ringed with warning beacons and royal sentinels. A year later, Queen Althea stepped down, naming her daughters Kodash rulers. Sol Marek was awarded the Order of the First Flame, the highest honor of Varalis. When he tried to refuse, Althea smiled for the first time in 4 decades. "You gave me back more than heirs," she said. "You gave me back my soul." At the palace edge, a garden bloomed. It mirrored the one within the rift. Time chimes hung from its branches, each tuned to the lullaby Sol once followed across the stars. Children played beneath its light. Diplomats walked in awe. And sometimes, when the wind was right, the echo of a song not of this world could still be heard. Sol never stayed long in the palace, but he visited the garden often. Once, Lair asked him, "Why us? Why did you hear it when no one else did?" Sol shrugged. "Because you never stopped singing." And in the heart of Varalis, a queen finally slept without grief, watching her daughters walk a future she had once only dreamed of.